Hey internet. So viewers been asking me which game to play, Genshin Impact or Wuthering Waves. I tried to avoid this conversation for over a year now. In fact, I'm trying to be neutral and trying to skirt around this subject, but my opinion really doesn't matter. I think the only advice I can give you is that if you have the storage on PC and PS5, download both and play both and see which one you like, which one you don't like. I think that's the true advice that I can give you. Now, in terms of mobile, I would say if you had to pick, well, let me put it this way. Genshin Impact is the OG gacha game, and Wuthering Waves is the modern Genshin Impact. What am I talking about? What am I trying to say? So what I mean by modern is that Genshin Impact is slow and it lacks the quality of life. So there are little things in Genshin Impact that they should have but aren't in the game, whereas Wuthering Waves has it in the game. For example, okay, what's a example I can show you? Okay, so for example, when you climb walls in Genshin Impact, you just climb walls, right? You don't have the option such as Wuthering Waves to sprint up walls such as that, as you can see. So in Genshin Impact you just climb walls like this, but in Wuthering Waves you can literally run up the cliff. So like little things like that. Now, Wuthering Waves is definitely better for mobility. So in 2.0 for Wuthering Waves, you can fly. So you can't really fly in Genshin Impact, so that's already a major plus. And yes, you can make the argument you can kind of fly, but that is locked behind a character that you have to wish for. Whereas this is just a feature. So I think that's one point for Wuthering Waves.
Guests of the unkind.
Now, I think that the combat system is different. So in terms of Genshin Impact, it uses elemental combinations, which is focused on swapping characters, whereas Wuthering Waves is more of a single player focus, so single character focus. Yes, you've got your teammates to support that character, and yes, you can swap whenever you want. However, it is optimal to swap when you charge up your gauge, so it's a little bit different. And the combinations that you have for your character, it's like the string of combos that you can do. It's a lot more than Genshin Impact. So Genshin Impact, you just have your skill button and your ultimate button. And yes, that's the same for Wuthering Waves. However, as you just saw with Chang Li, she was doing a whole bunch of acrobatics in the air, and that's just her normal attack, as you can see. So that's just her normal attack string. So I feel like in terms of combat, Wuthering Waves is better. So, well, better is probably not the right word. It's different. It's more solo character focused. Whereas Genshin Impact is more team focus and quick swap focus rather. Okay. Now, is there a little bit of bias that I like Wuthering Waves? Yes, there is a little bit of bias. Just because I just feel like coming from Genshin Impact, it just feels more fluid. Okay, so story. Now, if you asked me this 1 year ago, then yeah, Genshin Impact has probably the better story. In fact, it still has the better story because it's been out longer and the story's been cooking a little bit longer. Wuthering Waves, yeah, 1.0, it didn't really hit the mark, and I'll be the first one to say the story was pretty flat in 1.0. In 2.0, the story is a lot better. In terms of voice acting, I think both games have great voice actors, so that's I guess 1 point for both. So both of these guys get points for voice acting. In terms of, you know what, we'll spend a little bit of time on voice actors. So Genshin Impact is swapping to the same voice acting company as Wuthering Waves. So there's some issues with the old voice acting company or voice acting studio. So they're swapping to the same company as Wuthering Waves, which is, I find it a little bit funny. Now, what does that mean for overlapping actors? I think it's fine. Like, they can voice act in both games, and it's not an issue. It really depends on their schedule. So I'm not too fussed. The voice actors want to get paid, so it's a win-win for everybody. Okay. Now, one negative side on Wuthering Waves is that the Korean players have complained about the translation, which as an English player I haven't had any issues, but I've heard there are Korean mistranslations. So that is a negative if you're a Korean player. However, if you're on the English or Japanese side for voice acting, or you enjoy both English and Japanese side, there hasn't been any issues. So JP and EN, and I'm sure CN or Chinese is fine. Now, as you can see me running with these so these little paw energy things, or paw print energy things, that's another plus for mobility. So this is just all around the world and you can just run, and it allows you to run faster. So that's a plus, I guess. I think in terms of exploration, now I think the exploration is different. So what do I mean by that? In Genshin Impact, it is focused on, I suppose the word would be puzzles. So they're more puzzle focused, whereas Wuthering Waves is sort of more just, you kind of explore and things just happen. Now, is that a fair comment? No. I think a better comment would be that Genshin Impact is more comfy. It's more comfortable. It's like just a slow pace. Everything's vibrant and scenic. And you kind of just take your time and just look at the view. And I would say it's the same for Wuthering Waves. However, Wuthering Waves has a darker, more aesthetic, so it's not quite as bright and vibrant as you can see. So this is nighttime, but you can clearly see where some things are scenic and some things are a little bit more darker. and that's okay. So that's the vibe that they're going for, and that's totally fine. It's a different audience, I suppose. So that brings us to our next segue. It is the target audience. So Genshin Impact is targeted for all ages. Now, yes, we are going to talk about the elephant in the room, that Genshin Impact has been sued by the US, is it the FTC, I believe, the Federal Trade Commission. So they were originally sued for 40 million, but then they settled for 20 million. So I guess we can talk about the elephant in the room. So they have been sued for deceptive marketing, which Hoyo has, well, denied, but has settled, because if you recall, they did sue EA once upon a time for 450 million. So they just want to cut their costs down and just take the L on that one. Now, will that affect Wuthering Waves? I think it will affect it a little bit, because when they target a big company, it usually has a, I guess, a what do you call it, that cascade effect, the, you know, the waterfall cascade effect. So, oh, okay, so yes, I do believe that, I think that the lawsuit and settlement will affect Wuthering Waves, but Wuthering Waves is targeted for 13 and up, and you know that annoying checkbox that you have to click every time that you log in to confirm that you're over 13 years old. So maybe that's good enough that they can avoid a lawsuit, but at the same time I would like Wuthering Waves to implement the PGR, the Punishing Grey Raven type system, where you get a guarantee instead. So if you played Punishing Grey Raven, they have a guarantee system, like instead of having a 50-50, they simply just have a wish limit or a set amount of wishing, and once you've reached that number, you just get a guaranteed character. So I hope they implement that, but maybe they'll want to avoid that because, you know, it's a business. You want to make money, which is understandable because Wuthering Waves is owned by Tencent. So, you know, Tencent pretty much is a monopoly. But yeah. Now, okay, maybe you missed that. So I was flying with one character, and then I swapped, and we swapped characters mid-air. That's another little quality of life thing that you can't do in Genshin Impact. So, okay. For example, I'm flying with this character, right? Now you can just swap mid-air to a different character. So that's really cool. So yeah, a little bit biased there, but I just wanted to show that. Now, I have went on a massive tangent, and this was all for the mobile team, or mobile guys, or people. So, like I said, if you're on PC and PS5, download both, play both, and see what you like. If you're on mobile, I went on this super tangent and I try to make different comparisons. Ultimately, if you're short on space, I recommend you get the more modern version compared to the older one. Do I have to outright say it? Play Wuthering Waves. If you want the quality of life, then yes. So the little things that annoy you when you play Genshin Impact, they get rid of that stuff. So you know what? I think the advice stands for all platforms. Download both, play one and the other, and see what you like about one game and see what you don't like about the other game. And then for mobile players that are short on space, I suppose you can either download the game and then uninstall the game and play the other game. Although I know that's like a sunk cost fallacy and you don't want to do that. Like, why would I download the game to try it only to hate it and uninstall it and download another game that I have to invest time in? Which is fair. So if you don't want to do that, then probably go for Wuthering Waves. You'll be less frustrated and it'll be, I guess, more fun in the long run because there are just better quality of life updates in the game.
The white has been dyed red.
Now, if you care about story and you care about beautiful scenery and you want to be comfy and just like pick items on the ground, then Genshin Impact is your game. If you want more combat heavy or combat focused, as well as some, I guess the views are pretty good too in Wuthering Waves. Did that guy just drown? Okay.
Quickly and swiftly.
Alright. So pretty much just try Wuthering Waves if you're on mobile.
Still recognize
I think that's probably the better option. As for the PC and PS5, I just recommend you get both. Okay. So that's a long video just to say go and play Wuthering Waves. Alright, but that's my opinion. I try to be as neutral as possible. I know there's still going to be a civil war in the comment section, but that's okay. It's just a person's comment and opinion on the internet. You don't have to listen to my opinion. In fact, I encourage you to download both games and try it yourself and form your own opinions. Alright, like and subscribe. If you want to support me, become a member or drop a super thanks. You know the drill. Keep the comment section civil. I know everyone's going to have different comments about which game to play. But yeah, just keep it tame, okay? I don't want to be banning people. Alright, until next time, see ya.